So we got this one, just left one here. We got another one going right through here. You know, there's big puffy clouds. The whole background is getting white. There's another one up here. And these flight paths are obscure. These are not regular flight paths. Totally freaking white out here. So you become pretty familiar with the flight paths in your neighborhood. If you're not familiar with them, you're not paying attention to anything. And you will see when these trails start to appear that the flight paths just take every which route just to make sure they get full coverage of the sky. That's intentional. You know, they're not designing new flight paths. The flight paths are pretty set up. They're all on this next gen computer satellite radar. And they don't change them all the time. They get a system going and they keep it. There's not new, you know, flight routes being determined all the time. Another one up here. And the whole sky is just becoming silver blasted. Nice big puffy clouds. And all in between the clouds is white. Totally ridiculous. No one has a problem with the sky being white. You used to be able to use the phrase the sky is deep blue. You can't even use that phrase anymore because the sky is never deep blue. Maybe you could say it's bluish or along the lines of blue, but you can't say it's deep blue anymore because it isn't. So we could see this stuff here was likely, you know, what they sprayed and is getting maneuvered into puffy clouds. You start to see, you know, even separations. Nature doesn't work so evenly like that. You can see the nice big puffy clouds, they're moving. The other stuff, the little puffy clouds, they're frozen in space. That's another way to tell what's real and what's not real, because the artificial layer is generally trapped up there, likely in a frequency layer, but you'll notice it doesn't move like your more natural clouds move. So obviously there's wind currents going on. Definitely different layers of the atmosphere, but nothing should be frozen in place. You know, it's always that same artificial layer that's frozen in place, so that's not really hard to figure out. Always the artificial layer that's frozen in place. And you can see, you know, this is all blasted white here, and you usually start to get the little even lines when that's being turned into clouds. So they want to say it's contrail cirrus and this and that. No, it's being manipulated into clouds. Not hard. People just don't want to look up, and you can see starting to get the even spaces in between the clouds. You know, that's man-made manipulation. So once they start spraying like this, that means they're going to come hard and harder until it becomes totally white. Total sheet of white. I mean, I can't believe how white the sky is here. There's no clouds there. You got the big puffy cloud. And then behind it is sheer white, which of course is blocking some sunlight, but at the same time it traps in heat. It's its own greenhouse layer. You know, they do similar techniques in gardening where they pull a thin strip of material over the plants, and the heat coming off the plants gets trapped in the material and allows people to grow under a little warmer condition. Same thing going on here. So people say, oh, why if they're reflecting sunlight, you know, aren't they trying to cool it? No, their goal to reflect the sunlight is not to wake up the sheeple. It's not necessarily to cool things, it's just not to grab the attention of the masses, so the masses don't come back at them and say, what did you do to the planet? You were the people making the EPA rules and monitoring the industry. What did you allow to happen to the planet? While you people made hand over foot monies, all of these presidents and whatnot have investments in oil, they have investments in energy technologies, they have investments in the airline industry, so they allowed whatever to happen. So they're just trying to make the sheeple not wake up. We got a Kembo going on here because there's so much stuff up in the sky. So their goal is just not to is to make you not realize it, and it's working pretty decently, but it's not working now all that well. When you see how many people are actually talking about it, so that's where you get, you know, Metabunk and these other people that are paid to try and steer people away from it, to protect these elites that have made the money off of it, off of destroying the planet, and now they're spending money, your money, to make you not realize how bad it is. You start to see the ripples showing up, another trail out here, you know, every which way. Like I said, the weather in Florida does not change much. 1 or 2 degrees every day is the difference. Stays the same temperature for weeks. Weeks at a time, if not months at a time. So, I presume it'll be raining later because there's so much material up there that's cloud condensation nuclei. You know, water vapor needs to cling to something, so that's, you know, like a dust particle or an artificial metal aerosol particle before it can make rain. So they do have ionization tower patents and ideas, and there's companies that say they can do it. They can bring rain to California. You'll notice these towers in your town, they don't look like cell towers, they're just straight poles with no panel antennas on them. So there's a good chance they're ionization towers. And once there's enough stuff in this atmosphere, they fire them on and you get rain. The company called Rain on Demand. There's companies that can produce weather for your wedding. You want a clear day, you give them notice, you pay the fee, and they'll spray your sky, and you can get whatever weather you want for your wedding, you know. So these idiots saying, oh, they're not doing nothing, you know, in a time of climate change and all of the supposed environmental damage, there's no restrictions for this small scale weather manipulation. As long as you got the money, you can do it. No one cares. You have to let a government agency know, and that's it. You let them know what you're doing, and you do it. Not a big deal. Meanwhile, they're ready to tax California by the mile, put trackers in their car because of the climate change and the effect on you know, the environment. But the airline industry is free to go, and no one questions it. They're all just going to start assuming these taxes because no one wants to investigate. And everybody's busy watching TV and the new movie coming out. And then when we're so knee-deep in taxes and you name it, and damage, people will say, oh, I didn't know this happened. And the people that told them are going to say, you remember when I told you and you really didn't seem to care? You seemed like you were too busy, or you wanted to yell a conspiracy so you can go back to sleep? Well, that's when you should have woke up and you should have did something about it. So no one wants to hear you now saying, I didn't know nothing. You know, the world was dependent on you at a certain point and you could have gave a damn. So, see what happens when you ask for something back from the world, and if the world actually gives a damn. It's just nasty out here. They're covering up every inch of the sky. Sheer white. Sheer white. Plane paths out of nowhere. That's one of your best signs. These plane routes are pretty consistent, especially when you're near an airport, that when you see them just start taking every which direction, that's, you know, that's to hit different parts of the atmosphere. There's not a brand new country that popped up, you know, brand new airport that opened up that they got to start taking new routes. Everything is set at this point. And you can see this, the clouds are moving. And that layer up there, the artificial one that's been made, is not moving. Not moving. Well, I've inhaled enough of this, alright?